I want to plug a new affiliate, one of many new affiliates we're getting every month. KMLB 540, big station, out of Monroe, Louisiana. 540 KMLB. Going to be a guest tomorrow on that station at 5:30 Central. But they are now carrying the show. I want to thank them for doing that. We're not radical anymore. I mean, here's New York Times, Ban Ki-moon, op-ed contributor, we can do it, Secretary General of the UN. Listen to this simple statement. A deal must include an equitable global governance structure. All countries must have a voice in how resources are deployed and managed. This is how trust will be built. When you always hear about the UN and having a voice, that means you get to say what you think in a free speech zone, surrounded by cops with submachine guns, and then the bankers that own the private world government, they do what they want. So they'll make a big deal out of giving U.S. tax money to some African country and then tell the Africans America doesn't want you to have it, to make it all class and regional, first world, third world warfare. Well, the real global government moves forward. Global government. Then I talked about Monbiot, one of the Guardian writers, who writes articles every few months saying there's no world government, none of it exists, we're total kooks. And then he writes books called The New World Order, calling for global government, and signs petitions calling for global government. This guy, Rush Limbaugh, has always denied there's a global government. Now that it's too late to probably stop it, he's like, oh, yeah, it's liberal, too. George Bush Sr. wasn't for it. Oh, God. They're just hoping you don't go look into the fact that poisons are being put in your food and water by design. They just hope you don't find out the true magnitude of what's really happening. All right. Christopher Walter Monckton, 3rd Viscount of Monckton and Brinchley. He's a British lord, politician, business consultant, policy advisor, writer, columnist, inventor, and hereditary peer. It means he's a real lord. He served as an advisor to Margaret Thatcher's policy unit. And it goes on and on. He's really been stirring things up because he's an insider coming out and admitting the carbon tax is global government to private banks. He talks about the facts. The Earth has been cooling for 4 years. The sun is the main driver. Polar bears aren't drowning. There's more polar bears now than there were decades ago. The majority of scientists are on government payroll. That is, the majority of scientists saying there's global warming is real and man-made are on government payroll that Eisenhower warned us about. He's really stating it in an eloquent way, and the media is attacking him, saying he's completely insane. None of this exists. He comes out and says the UN wants global government. It's a tax to control your life. Doesn't matter if the UN says that themselves in the New York Times. This is a crazy psychological game they're playing. They admit everything and then deny everything. They're speaking to people's laziness. They're speaking to people's innate wish to just deny all of this is happening. Oh, that's not happening. I can go play golf. Oh, there's no carbon tax. Oh, the paper said they're not going to pass that health care bill out of the House. It's passed. Oh, they're not going to pass it out of the Senate. Oh, yes, they are. I mean, I've got all these mainstream news articles today where they're saying, don't worry, healthcare, government takeover of healthcare in 5 years in prison and 2.5 to 5% of your paycheck being withheld. And then you have to still get insurance or you're fined. Don't worry, you'll be given 5 years in prison or a $250,000 fine, first offense. The bill says that. I read it on air yesterday from the bill. They're just out saying it's not going to pass. And it's all the usual suspects. It's Fox News saying that. Oh, don't worry. It's not going to pass. Let's go ahead and go to Lord Mockton. Clip after clip, and I'm going to comment on it. Here it is.
Bias because of who paid for the test. I've often wondered, these scientists that all sign on to the Al Gore thing, how many of them get their funding from the federal government?
99%. Nearly all of science is now funded by the state. Effectively, scientific research is what's known to economists as a monopsony. There's only one customer. And the quickest way to make money, if you are in that situation and you are a scientist, and particularly in the unloved corner of science, which climatology used to be, is to get a really big scare going and then say, we are the only people that can stop this scare and we can save the world, and therefore throw us lots of money. And if you read the stimulus package, you'll find that NOAA and NASA have received tens of billions in additional funding, and NASA has been retasked from being a space agency to being a climate change monitoring agency. That is now its primary function. And they are laughing all the way to the bank, having trousered your taxpayers' money.
Yeah, just on a quick financial point, tens of billions of dollars have been spent by the U.S. government alone promoting man-made global warming. Al Gore has pledged to spend $300 million himself. So the bottom line is, when people say the oil funded, the money, the skeptics get funded, you'll hear that often. They point to ExxonMobil getting $19 or $20 million over 2 decades as proof that, the skeptics are funded. One USDA farm grant to study how farm owners contribute to global warming exceeded all the money ExxonMobil ever had been accused of giving to global warming skeptical groups. So the bottom line is, not only is the argument, the money is so much on the other side, it's literally become the best science politics can manufacture, especially when you look at the UN. The name of the UN panel, by the way, is the Intergovernmental Panel. And in case anyone doesn't understand, it's political.
Okay, and let me comment on that. Rex Tillerson, the CEO of ExxonMobil, over a decade ago, on record said, I don't know if this is real, and they had scientists study it. And the scientists all came back and said, it's the sun. And then David Rockefeller, this was in mainstream news, went to Rex Tillerson and said, if you don't come out and say it's real and put billions of dollars behind it, you are fired. And Rex Tillerson was in the news the next day saying global tax is good, man-made global warming's real, and they were the last big oil company to get behind it. Look at this. The man who saved the world, Ben Bernanke, and President Obama's only real choice. And you can Google all these other terms. Al Gore saves the world. I mean, here it is on the cover of Newsweek. The thinking man's thinking man. They just bill themselves as saviors of the world. They're saving the banking. They're saving the environment, when they are the engineers of the banking crises. They're the ones that are using carbon dioxide as the boogeyman to distract from all the real environmental crises we have. Putting a tax on carbon dioxide and paying Enron scammers, that's who set this up, money, paying Al Gore money, isn't going to help the environment. Let me explain this to the environmentalists who aren't real environmentalists. Do you understand that China, India, Mexico, and over 160 other third world and developing nations have to make zero cuts under this Copenhagen-Denmark treaty? In fact, I have the treaty right here. I mean, do you understand that? Do you understand? Zero cuts. I've read the treaty. It's admitted in the news. Framework Convention on Climate Change. Now, if carbon dioxide is this deadly weapon that kills everything in its path and is killing the earth, not that plants breathe, part of the life cycle. Let's just say it's deadly, like you say. Moving it all to India and China and Mexico will increase the amount of gas. That's admitted. We're one planet. But it doesn't matter. The people that support this feel like they're winning, feel like they have power, feel like they're getting rich guys, feel like finally we're having communism we always dreamed of, the people's utopia. They don't understand that big banks, big money, big oil is supporting this because it's a giant scam to consolidate power. They don't know that the Bolsheviks got funded by big U.S. and London banks on record. They don't understand it. They really, when they walk up and stab the tires on your SUV or knock your window out on your truck, they feel good. And the local media doesn't admit they're the ones breaking out your windows and stabbing your tires because it's kind of a, for the earth. They kind of, we're soon going to be in control. There's nothing more dangerous than a wannabe hippie with a submachine gun and a black uniform. They'll line you up in a minute and mow you down because you're bad for the earth. They are the perfect shock force army. That's why they admit Al Gore's setting up a religion. He's saying it's going to be a religion. And there's your God, a fat, evil, demonic Nelly.